Hey everyone, what a morning. I should be working right now, but I had to at least get down a couple minutes of thoughts about the trailer for Fallout 4. Now, let me give you a little bit of history of me with the Fallout franchise. Never played 1, never played 2. They're on my list of games that, man, I should go back and play, considering how much I liked 3, even though gameplay-wise they're totally different. Thematically, they're the kind of stuff that I really, really enjoy, and I'd love to know a little bit more about the world and the lore, but I never really was into open world games. Prior to Fallout 3, when I would try and play an open world game, basically anything that wasn't Grand Theft Auto, because when I was a teenager, everyone played Grand Theft Auto, I got overwhelmed by the sense of choice. When you got into a world, some people looked at 100 different places you can go and went, hell yes, that sounds really exciting. Cannot wait to see what's around the corner. Want to see what those exclamation marks are. I looked at that stuff and went, just tell me where to go. I often looked at open world games as choose your own fun or make your own fun, and that was anxiety inducing. That was, I couldn't get into them. And with Fallout 3, I made a conscious effort because I was out in San Francisco working for MTV, and I had to go to these Fallout events, so I said, okay, I'm going to try and learn one of these games. I'm going to try and get into one of these games. It was an early example of me trying to play a game that I had put to the side, said wasn't for me, and was going to say, maybe it is for me. And so I spent a bunch of time playing Fallout, fell in love with it. Fallout 3 not only opened my eyes to open world games, but it made my probably top 5 list of games of all time. And I will be very happy to push it down in favor of Fallout 4 if it can somehow live up to that. Now, granted, there's a little bit of Fallout 3 was a new experience for me. It was the first time playing a game of that type, so it would take quite a bit for Fallout 4 to kind of dethrone it. But man, I'd be happy to say that it did. And so the trailer for Fallout 4, the first teaser trailer that sort of kind of just thematically sets the stage for what will be a more proper unveiling at E3 in just 2 weeks, which is really close by. The trailer's about 3 minutes long. We get Ron Perlman back again. He confirmed that he's the voice actor on Twitter, and he said it was one of the hardest secrets he's ever had to keep, which is funny because he denied being part of Fallout 4 as part of a tweet about a year ago. And so, I think one of the first things that I noticed about the trailer is that it's so colorful. It would be very easy to make a post-apocalyptic world just dark and dank and weird, and I don't know how much of Fallout 4 represents perhaps society evolving in a way of trying to sort of grapple and claw their way back, and maybe that reflects a little bit of the color, or maybe they just looked at some of the other post-apocalyptic games and said, if we made this one a little more bright and cheery, cheery is the wrong word, but just brighter, like the world would still be popping in some ways, there would still be color in this world, that it can make Fallout stand out. And so that part I really appreciated. We don't get a good sense of how the game is going to play. That will probably come at E3. We'll see what's happened to VATS. VATS was, the combat systems from Fallout 3 that was really fun for like the first 10 hours until you just started pumping points into headshots, and then you would just spend your time shooting people in the head because it really wasn't worth doing anything but shoot people in the head. You could shoot them in the leg and break their leg, and there were interesting mechanics and setups there, but I just found that as long as you min-maxed into shooting dudes in the head, there wasn't a whole lot of reason to do anything else. And I'm going to be curious how they approach VATS the second time around, because that was sort of what I heard from a lot of people that played Fallout 3, and I have to imagine they're going to address that right up front with Fallout 4. So, they haven't said what'll be at E3 specifically, but they did say there'll be the first proper unveiling, which you have to imagine will be maybe a 10 to 15 minute. Hey, they could just play for an hour. I will watch them play Fallout 4 as long as they want at E3, where the game's mechanics will probably make a little more sense. I think it's interesting that we're seeing Fallout 4 right after a lot of people have dumped tons of hours into Witcher 3. I'm not someone to get dragged into graphics conversations that often, but I think it's not going to be a surprise that that becomes a focal point right up front with Fallout 4. Animation has never been Bethesda's strong suit, and I don't think Fallout 4 is going to somehow rectify that. It looks better, absolutely. It looks like a fantastic game. I'm really excited about it. I'm not even complaining about the way it looks visually, but I think, having just played and seen Witcher 3 and then looking at Fallout 4, immediately there are going to be comparisons about those two games. Immediately there are going to be questions about, is this the game where Bethesda sort of steps it up visually? Because they've never been a graphics powerhouse. They've always, their wheelhouse has always been in creating incredible worlds and the problem is right now all we have to go on are trailers. All we have to go on are visuals. And so naturally, I understand that people are going to sort of glam onto that and sort of look at the animations, look at the polygon count, look at the models and go, well, is this the best that gaming has to offer? But you have to remember that the kinds of worlds and experiences that Bethesda builds are world class, first class, second to none. And that's what you play those games for. You don't play them because they're going to be technical showcases, because if they wanted to do a technical showcase, they would do a linear experience in which they could spend a lot more time on having a concentrated visual roller coaster. Instead, what they do is they build worlds, and the graphics are just a component of that. And I still think Fallout 4 looks fantastic. It looks like we have the return of dog tech. The dog looks kind of amazing in this game. I'm hoping that maybe he'll be a companion. You know, one of the things that's always sort of bothersome in games like this is there's so much loot and there's so much stuff to collect, and wouldn't it be cool if you could just tap a button and your dog would go around and just collect all your stuff for you? And maybe you still are encumbered with it and you have to worry about inventory count. But if just, you know, I've just taken out 6 guys, I'd love it if my dog could just go over there. And maybe if there's something rare, he alerts me like, hey, there's something really interesting. You should take a look at it. Maybe you want to equip it. I think there's a way for a canine to be sort of streamline the way these open world games deal with item management that could be really satisfying and interesting. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it seems like the game spent a lot of time, or the trailer spends a lot of time, alluding to the dog being a focal point of Fallout 4 in some capacity, sort of a companion that you're going to grow fond of and become friends with, and then hopefully, you know, does that mean he's like Elizabeth in Bioshock Infinite, in which he can't be killed, or she can't be killed? I don't know what the sex of the dog is. Because it'd be kind of odd if they're, you know, spending a lot of time investing in a canine that could just easily be taken out by a couple of gunshots. I wouldn't be surprised if the canine is an invincible companion that can't actually be killed, and, you know, you sort of have to suspend your disbelief for that, but it allows you to have a really useful companion in the world that you grow fond of. Trying to think of other things that I noticed immediately in the trailer. I'm not familiar with Boston, so the landmarks don't mean a whole lot for me, but I'm glad we're going somewhere different. I love it when games choose to go to cities that haven't been in a lot of video games before. You know, we see plenty of games set in San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, so Boston's something different. I was glad that Watch Dogs went to Chicago. There is a bit towards the end in which the player character talks to the dog, which suggests this may be the first Bethesda game in which your character has a voice. There's plenty of dialogue in Bethesda games in the past, but this might be the first one in which your character has something to say, which I feel like is going to be a divisive decision if that turns out to be the case. That, you know, people like to role play in these games, and so I think part of what's allowed the Fallout games, the Bethesda games, to allow role-playing to a degree that isn't possible with a game with scripted dialogue is that you can sort of, your actions become the dialogue. And so you kind of pretend and play with that in your head. And if someone is actually saying those words, that is removed a little bit. So I'm not going to be surprised if we immediately have a countdown to someone who produces a dialogue-less mod for Fallout 4. And I wonder if they're going to bring back the modding thing for Fallout 4. Do you think that, you know, they tried to do it with Skyrim on the Steam Workshop and make paid mods a thing on Skyrim, but that was an established community. They pushed back on it. Maybe that's something they introduced with a brand new game like Fallout 4. But I don't know. My head's spinning. I'm excited for more Fallout 4. I'm going to have more thoughts on it as we learn more about it. I'm surprised there's no Game Informer cover to go along with it. I was hoping we might have more details on the game itself, but it seems like we're going to have to wait till E3. Please let me know what you thought of the trailer in the comments. Share what you think about Fallout 4. Share your excitement, because, hey, I know that I'm someone that's been doing this for a long time. I can be jaded. I can be cynical. There are games that get me really excited, and Fallout 4 is one of them. So hopefully you're sharing the excitement with me. Or if you're not excited, let me know. Get into the comments, and let's talk about Fallout 4. See you guys.